Parkinson's law states that work will expand to fill the time allocated to a task. Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how I synthesize Parkinson's law. So Parkinson's law says that work expands to fill the time allocated to a certain task, which can mean many things. First being that if you allocate a lot of time to something, then it will take a lot of time for it to be completed. It also explains the human psychology that given a deadline, most of the work actually occurs towards the end of the deadline. So all that time in between is just wasted time because there is not any sense of urgency for a task to be completed, therefore it will be completed just when the urgency arrives. But however, in my life, I take Parkinson's law and I actually synthesize it. So what does this actually mean? It means that whenever I am faced with a task that needs to be completed, I immediately assert a sense of urgency towards it. For example, anything that comes up in my PhD work. So if I've sent off an article to a journal and it comes back for corrections, in my mind immediately I have to prioritize the work. So that be a high priority work, something that needs to be done quite soon. They usually give a week. However, I don't want to be waiting a week until I can finish it, because in my line of work, lots of things pile up, one after another, and really you don't know when something's going to just creep up at the last minute and have a very urgent time limit on it. So you really have to complete everything as soon as possible. But the reason why I synthesize Parkinson's law is because I always want to be in my rest state. So human beings, as with all other animals, need a lot of rest. Rest is actually really good for you. It's not just being lazy. Rest is good because rest leads to recovery, and rest also gives you time to think. So my natural state is rest mode, and I'll try to achieve my rest mode or chill mode as often as possible, and I want to be in that phase as long as possible because it allows me to think more, it allows me to relax more. Of course, who doesn't want to do that? So whenever I'm given a task, I immediately start putting alarm bells around my head and I have to complete that task as soon as possible, and thereby synthesizing Parkinson's law, thereby not looking at the actual deadline something needs to be done, and instead completing all my available tasks as soon as possible so I can achieve a rest state. I can do whatever I want with that time. I can watch some YouTube, I can read a book, I can just lie around doing nothing. Although the latter never really happens because I don't believe in lying down doing nothing. I believe that my time should be done either that benefits my happiness or my productivity, which is a very, very misconstrued word these days. So therefore I can actually synthesize Parkinson's law. So in this video, I'm going to give you a few tips on how to actually synthesize Parkinson's law. So the first thing is to assign priorities to different tasks. For example, if you're a secondary student and you have your GCSEs coming up, one of your overarching priorities is the fact that you need to revise enough for your content to pass all your exams. However, sometimes you are left with a lot of time in between when teaching ends and they give the period of when you can actually study at home. So of course, Parkinson's law is not going to kick in until the last minute, but you need to realize that in achieving your goals, the overarching priority is to study as efficiently as possible. The way I would synthesize Parkinson's law is by giving myself a deadline saying that I need to learn everything there is in 1 week. And let's say there's actually 4 months left to the exams, but I will give myself the pressure that I have to finish all the revision content in a week, which seems impossible, but if I manage to actually succeed that, then I have literally learned all the content in 1 week at a very basic level. With Parkinson's law, as the deadline comes sooner and sooner, you have to get the work done. And sometimes quality is something that you have to kind of let go in order to achieve that task within that set frame. So if your task was to revise everything there is in a week and you have another 3 months and 3 weeks left, then the worst thing you can do is you've completed it, but in a first scan. So you've done it at lowest quality setting possible. So that gives you another 3 months and 3 weeks to go over it again and again and again. And eventually 2 weeks before the exam, lo and behold, you have actually learned all the content. You can start relaxing. For me, I prefer not to do any revision close to the exams because I prefer to relax. For me, there's so many benefits of relaxing, and that should be its own video in itself. But the benefits are that it's much less stressful. It is obviously more fun to relax, and also it allows you to think more. And even if you think you need to squeeze every single piece of productivity out of your system, rest state actually lets your mind dwell on things that you've learned. It allows you to expand on concepts that you know. So actually you're not being unproductive by resting, and that actually might be a video, so stay tuned for that. So the other way that you can synthesize Parkinson's law, or the concept of Parkinson's law, is by giving yourself synthetic deadlines. So let's say, for example, you signed a book contract and they've given you 2 years to write a book. However, you should obviously give yourself a much tighter deadline than 2 years, because 2 years basically means that, oh, I have 2 years to finish this book, so I'll start next year, or I start 2 months before the book. And that's really bad, because a book is a very huge commitment, and other things similar to that are huge commitments. So you really want to be reducing your deadlines for everything. The third way in which you can synthesize Parkinson's law is by giving yourself the reward of completion. So instead of thinking about the deadline as the way of something must be done, otherwise there's a punishment, you should think of it the other way around, is if I finish this, I get a reward. So if, for example, if you're working from home and your timing was 9 to 6 and you had a set amount of work to be done, why not complete that work much faster by giving yourself 9 to 2 p.m. deadline and skipping lunch or having a very short lunch. 2 to 6 you can actually relax. If you're allowed to in certain work environments, then you can actually give yourself time to actually watch a movie, you can relax, you can incentivize yourself to finish well before the deadline. The thing that is so important in doing this is that things do pop up. Unexpected things happen in life all the time. Just look at coronavirus. You have to always budget yourself with less time. You have to underestimate the time you have on this earth, because ultimately we don't know how long we have on this earth. So underestimate the time you actually have, and therefore all your tasks will be achieved a lot sooner. If you give yourself more time before the deadline, you can improve the quality of your work by going over it and doing it over and over again. So the take-home message from this video is that Parkinson's law does explain the human psychology behind deadlines. However, knowing that humans are very simple and that psychology can often be reversed, we can actually use this principle, and by knowing our nature, we can actually allow Parkinson's law not to govern the way we live our lives. We can improve productivity and we can improve resting, which is a very huge important bit of human nature. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video and took something from it. If you like this kind of content and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you like this video, you know what to do. Press like, comment down below and tell me other ways in how you can synthesize Parkinson's law. And as always, thank you for watching.